Hey everyone. So Charlie Kirk is a bit of a doofus. I'm just playing around, but he really does have some silly ideas. So he's the leader and founder of Turning Point USA, which is basically a conservative group that tries to like spread conservative ideology across college campuses. And he recently made a tweet that I thought was pretty interesting to say the least. So he says, and first of all of his tweets are like this, where like he like spreads them out like a bunch, and they have like a bunch of like capital letters and everything. They're just very. He has a really spammy kind of Twitter. It's really weird, and there's a lot of like really like bot looking accounts that like follow him. It's a weird Twitter situation. But anyway, all of his tweets are really weird. So he says, breaking: Michigan Democrats are turning their state into a vote by mail state and mailing voting applications to every citizen in their state. Trump won Michigan by less than 11,000 votes in 2016. Mail-in ballots are a way for Democrats to steal 2020. Retweet if we need voter ID now. So I find that interesting for multiple reasons. One, he doesn't even assert that voting by mail, like usually the claim is that voting by mail will lead to voter fraud, but he doesn't even assert that in this tweet. He just says that voting by mail is bad and Democrats are going to steal the election that way. And the only thing that can be taken away as to why he believes this is he believes that if more people vote, they will lean towards the Democrats to win. That more people will vote for Democrats, and I gotta say that's just a little embarrassing that you just so thoroughly don't believe in your ideology that just more people voting scares you into thinking that your guy will win. Because Charlie Kirk, he's a super like he claims to be this like small government libertarian kind of conservative, but he's like Donald Trump's biggest fan, and Donald Trump is like the farthest thing from a small government conservative. So he's a massive hypocrite. Doesn't really believe in what he says to believe in. But just for him to like be so scared that Donald Trump will lose just because more people have the opportunity to vote. I think that every single state should have vote by mail. I think that's really I think that we should really make it easier for people to vote. I mean, when you look at these places where people have to wait 4 or 5 hours in line to vote, I mean that is I don't know what to call that other than suppressing the vote, voter suppression. Um and I think that voting by mail is an easy, it's a very simple solution to solving that, let alone the fact that we are in the midst of a pandemic and people aren't going to want to be in really crowded spaces to vote at the polls, and so it is super going to drive down turnout if people have to vote, if they have like to go in physically to vote. And a easy, simple solution is to let people vote by mail. And there is, to my understanding, there isn't a whole lot of evidence that this is there's like massive fraud when it comes to voter fraud. My state does vote by mail, and I think there are several states that do it, and more people vote is the byproduct. I mean, two seats in California, I believe, recently just flipped to Republican, um, and California does vote by mail. And like with like the specific one is California District 25. It was a seat that Katie Hill's former seat. It flipped Republican, and that is a vote by mail district, and it flipped Republican. Yet they somehow Democrats didn't steal it, even though like a bunch of people got to vote. So it's really silly, this idea that that Republicans are worried that if more people come out to vote that they will lose because they have no confidence in their ideology. They know that it's unpopular. If you look at the polls, I mean, progressive ideas overwhelmingly win with like like the average American population. Like if we look at like everybody in America, progressive ideas, they win overwhelmingly when we're talking about like legalizing marijuana, Medicare for all, free college, ending the wars. All of these ideas are really popular with the general public. It just so happens that not everybody votes. And I don't think that people should be required to vote. I definitely don't support that. I think that people should have the right to vote, but I also think that it should be easy to vote where everybody reasonably has the chance to vote. And the fact of the matter is if you have to physically go in person to vote on a specific day, that does suppress the turnout. And I don't think that we should do that. And I think that voting by mail is a really easy solution to that. And there's really very little evidence of fraud. Are there instances of fraud? Sure, of course there are. Do I think that there are like spouses who like look over their husband or wife's shoulder to like see who they're voting for, make sure they're voting for the right person? Yeah, that probably does happen, but like there's no evidence that that's happening on like a large scale, and that it doesn't that it's happening where it like is affecting the outcome. And there's really I don't think there's a whole lot of evidence that there is an implicit bias in voting by mail that it will affect one party or another. If it just so happens that progressive ideas are more popular, then I mean, I guess you could say that there's a bias in letting more people vote. But I mean, then you're just against democracy at that point. But you know, Republicans have time and time again shown that they maybe aren't for the purest form of democracy. I mean, the Electoral College is incredibly undemocratic. Um, so anyway, I just found this tweet to be pretty interesting just because I mean it's not even pretending at this point. He doesn't even bring up the fact that like he thinks that there's going to be fraud in the tweet. He's just saying like, oh, if more people are voting, they're going to steal the election just because more people will vote. It very silly. Charlie Kirk has some very, very silly ideas. But if you guys disagreed with anything I said in this video, maybe you don't think that voter fraud is a big, or maybe you do think that voter fraud is a big deal, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you guys think. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great